just going to be really brief. I call bankruptcy the nuclear option. By the time you get to bankruptcy, just like he said, you would have gone, I don't know if you have the other slide back up, you would have gone one of these options. You would have at least considered all of them. By the time you get to me, you would have decided, okay, at this point, we've tried all the other options, and bankruptcy is where I need to hit. In bankruptcy, you have, for individuals, Chapter 7 and Chapter 13. With Chapter 7, I call that a liquidation option. That's when it's a give and take with the bankruptcy trustee. You put all your assets into what I call a little bag, and you hand that over to the trustee. Based on the rules NRS 21.090, there are a couple of things that you can take out of the bag. So if you have your house worth $550,000, which might not be the case here, you get to keep that. Your personal property up to $12,000, you get to keep that. Your car up to $15,000, you get to keep those things. But if you're looking at an option of trying to wipe out the deficiency, like you mentioned earlier, bankruptcy might be an option to wipe that out. With a Chapter 13, it's a little bit different. Chapter 13 is also for individuals, but it deals with people who have disposable income. So if you have a little bit of money left, or you don't qualify for the Chapter 7, based on the number in your household and how much you make per state law, you can do a Chapter 13. With the 13, however, it's a much longer period of time. Clients I see for Chapter 7, which is what I love, I've been doing that now since 2006, 2007. They changed the rules back in 2005. So they've done a lot of revamping of the law. I have been doing this since law school. I started practicing in 2008, and I did it about 2 years before that. So a lot of people get into bankruptcy now, but it's always good to go with someone who has experience or who has been doing this. I clerked for 3 different judges on the Western District of Tennessee, and it's federal law, so it pretty much carried over. So you want someone who knows what they're doing. The rules also recently changed in the state law. NRS 21.090 expanded a little bit to give homeowners a chance to keep more stuff for themselves. So that's something that you have to note. With the Chapter 13, like I was saying, that involves a longer process, 3 to 5 years, where you marshal out your disposable income, and then you get to pay back your creditors over time, as opposed to the Chapter 13, where, and 7 rather, where in 4 to 6 months, you could be in and out of your bankruptcy. The thing to note about bankruptcy, though, it does stay on your credit report for a number of years, about 7 to 10 years, just like the foreclosure, just like the deed in lieu. So it has that same effect. With the Chapter 7, you're in and out faster, and you can get that clock ticking right away. With a 13, however, you have this 3 to 5 year period. And then if something happens to you, for some reason you can't keep on making those payments, or you lose your job, it's as if you never filed for a Chapter 13 in the first place. So I do not usually advocate for a 13. And why this really should be your last option is we get very nosy in the bankruptcy court. We ask for everything. It's almost like turning on paperwork to the bank. What are your assets? What are your, what's your income? What are your expenses? Are you married? If you're married and you're not filing jointly, why is that happening? How much does your spouse make? They get very nosy. Do you have a safe deposit box? Where is it located? Any and all property in this state, out of the country, everything they do want to know. And if you have enough money, the trustee actually takes over your estate and can sell it, liquidate it, and pay that out to your creditors. So you always have to be careful before you do a Chapter 7 or a Chapter 13. As you mentioned earlier, a Chapter 11 is typically for businesses. It's very similar to the 13 in that you reorganize. You do also a payment plan just like you would do for a 13. Most individuals do an 11, but that's very rare. That's usually for independent contractors, so you want to stay away from that. And then there are other chapters of the bankruptcy code, like a Chapter 9 for municipalities, Chapter 12 for farmers. Any farmers in the house? Hopefully you're not farming in the desert, but so those are not options that will apply to you. So the big ones are 7 and 13. Do you guys have any questions for me? Right. Nobody wants the bankruptcy option?
Well, one of the questions that I typically hear is, can I bankrupt my responsibility to the IRS?
Yeah. Okay, let me see, that's a qualified no. That's a qualified no. The rules are very strict. I get that a lot. I get IRS and I get student loans. I have a lot of folks who have, all this gazillions of debt from school, and they think they can do that. Student loans are another beast unto themselves. There are a lot of things you have to do for that. And the big thing that people don't understand is undue hardship. With that, you have to show that you are not making any money now and you will never make any money for the rest of your life. That is pretty kind of hard to prove. With the IRS, there are certain parts of the code. You have had to have had the debt for a substantial amount of time, and they have to have given you a notice for also another substantial amount of time. There's a calculation that goes with that. That's very difficult to pull off. So if you owe the IRS, like death and taxes, you always have to pay, and you have a way of circumventing that even in bankruptcy.
All right, any other questions?
Are IRAs protected under either 7 or 13?
Absolutely, I'm glad you asked that question. That's one of the things that NRS 21.090 does for us. You can take out your IRAs, your 401ks, your life insurance to any limit. So I'm sure, I think there's an estate planning section.
Yes.
So they will probably talk more
That's
about
all
that. But
protected.
yes, it is protected. You don't get to put that into bankruptcy.
Yeah, and there will be an estate planning section that will cover that and a few other things as well.
Yes,
Okay.
Any other questions?
All right, thank you
It's
very
pretty
much.
good. Thank you.
You can sit down.